Hello. Okay. So this is the video of the day 6. Yeah. Um. Well, I have resolved the hard disk issue. I've resolved it. Um. I tried. I did a recording of this tutorial, and while saving it, it kind of it throwed up an error. So I thought probably is the recording software, not knowing it's actually my hard disk. So then later on, I think during the night, I tried to record it again, and then I noticed that my hard disk, it just went blank. Nothing was showing in it again. So well, let's get into this, and let's see how we are going to design this. So this is ExperienceWelcome.com. So this is one of the sections they have here, and okay, let's get into it and see what we can do. Um, if you look closely here, let me scroll down. So you see, this is the one I did that time. You see? So, but we are going to start afresh again. So I'm going to click here, add a new container. But before adding any container, let's study what we are about to design. Let's study it. So right now we have this. We have this heading and paragraph, and then we have this slide. This is actually kind of testimonial slide, and then we have this black section here with a 3 column. It's a container with 3 columns, and finally we have a button. So this tells me probably we are going to have one big container. Inside the big container, then we are going to have this, and then have another container below, another container that we have 3 columns inside of it. So let's actually go into building it out. So I'm going to add a big section here. Then, of course, I can use a title and paragraph. But in this case, if I use a title and a paragraph, it means I need a container that will contain these guys, an extra container. But if I want to remove that extra container, I'm going to use image box, because image box already comes with a title and paragraph. So just watch and see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to drop this image box, of course, and then remove the image. Then make it heading 2, because this is not heading 1. It shouldn't be heading 1, because this is not the main title of this page. You see, this is a section in the middle of this page, so it should be heading 2. Then I will go to style, left align it. Okay, then what else do I need? I need this guy here, which you may decide to use the testimonial widget or the review widget. You may even use the review widget, which of course you can achieve it with that, but not exactly this design. You can't use the review widget and achieve exactly this. I think I need to refresh this so that to load properly. It's not loading properly. Yeah, okay, so you can see it's now loaded properly with the stars, the star rating and every other thing. Okay, so of course you can use the review widget to achieve something similar to it, but it won't be exactly. So because of that, I'm not going to use the review widget. Rather, I'm going to use carousel. Yes, I'm going to use carousel to design it. So let me drop in my carousel here. Okay, so this carousel comes with a 3 column already. Then the next thing is this section here with a 3 column inside. So which is a container. I'm going to drag this container and drop. Then inside the container there will be 3 columns. That is 3 more containers. So I'm going to click it and drop another container inside. Then I'm going to duplicate and duplicate. Then I'm going to click on the container that contains this tray. Container that contains this tray and change the direction. And now we have a container that has 3 columns. We have our carousel. We have our title and paragraph. Then the last thing we need is a button. So I'm going to drag this button and drop it down. You see now, okay, sometimes when you want to drop it down it may not allow you. Okay, so I think I can drop it now. Yeah, so but sometimes it may not allow you to drop it where you want to drop it. So you can just, maybe let's say it's here, let's say you dropped it here, but this is not where you want it. So you can use the navigator, bring it out and drop it. Okay, so now it went into this one. I can drag it out, or maybe drag it outside. Yes, drag it outside the container and then drag this container up, and here we go. Okay, so now it's actually inside this main container. Okay, so what I have to do is simply drag it, leave it between this container and the carousel. So now this container here, I'm going to now drag it up so that it will be between the carousel and the button, and here we go. So this is it. Then now we start styling, we start adding in things. So because of how this is structured, I want to design my carousel first, get it right before going into this, like to make things very easy for me. So we have an image. Let me download this image, save. Okay, so then copy out this. Okay, so inside this guy here, inside one of the column, we need a 2-column section inside each of them, because the first column is going to be the column for the image. Second column will be the column for these guys here. So inside one of these container here, I'm going to drag a container and drop in. Then that container, I'm going to duplicate it, so it becomes side by on top of each other this way, but I want it to be side by side, right? So I'm going to click on the slide, which is the slide 1, change the direction. Okay, so now I have 2 columns side by side. So on the first column, I'm going to add an image. Make sure the size of your image is in full. Okay, so let's wait for it to upload. Alright, so I've gone ahead and uploaded 3 of the images, and then I'm going to click select. Okay, then inside the other column, I'm going to drag in a star rating widget and drop. Of course, it's going to be 5-star rating. Then let's see, I'm going to drag in probably use, you can use, of course you can use anything. Maybe you can use a icon list, or you can use your paragraph, this thing, your paragraph widget. So let me type in text editor. So drag and drop it. So then paste what we copied. Okay, then in the other one, let me use an icon list. Remove all this. Remove this. So here is where the name. Here's where the name of the person, where I'm going to copy this and paste it. Alright, so now we have to make this column here smaller. So we go to the column. Of course, make sure this is full width. Go to the other column, make sure it's full width. Alright, so on the first column here, maybe we give this like a 15, probably a 20%, while the second column is going to take 80%. Yes, let's just use that for now. Then let's get the font size of this. So click here. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. We have 16 pixels for the font size. Line height is 20.8 and the font weight is 400. Okay, so 16 pixel, 20.8 line height, and they are using the font family they are using is this guy here. I haven't heard of this font, so I don't know if this font is available. So let's check if it's available on but I don't think so. But let's just check. You never can tell. So let me copy it out. Okay, so oops, so it's not available here. So we have to use a font that will look similar to it. So what font that will look similar to this? Let's go back here. So I'm going to click on the testimonial, go to style. Of course the color is black, so I'm going to use a black color. Then the typography, maybe let's use Hind, yes, Hind Madura. Then of course is italics, right? So we have to make it italics. So font weight of course is a 400, and then on the style change it to italic. Then the font size 16, and then line height 20.8 pixel, right? And that's what we got. Okay, then if you look closely, you see there's a spacing, there's a gap in this paragraph, there's a gap at the bottom, so we need to remove it. Maybe minus 24, 6, along that lines, yeah, maybe 20, 28, minus 28. Okay, so then the next thing is this guy here. Let's get the color first. Okay, here's the color. You can see there's a transparency 0.31, 32. So let me click it, change it to the hex, and here we go. We copy it. Then the font size is 12.8, line height 16.64, and font weight is 400. So 12.8 is for the font size. Okay, so let's go back. So on the text, change the color to this color we copied, and then the typography, of course using our hint again in Madurai, and 12, right? 12.8, I think that's what they're using. Okay, font weight was 400, line height of 16 or so. So now we have this. Let's look at it again. Okay, that's it. Then we have to, okay, the next thing is the star rating as well. So the star rating is black, obviously, and we have to reduce the sizing. So this star rating here, we have to go to style, maybe give it like 20 is too big, maybe 14. Let me look at this again. Yeah, around 14. Then the color have to be black. So this unmarked color, what this means is, let's say I give this a 3. So you can see the other two that is not marked. So like, what's the color? Of course, you can choose any gray color. For it. Maybe give it the black, and then that black, you reduce the transparency, you see, to maybe somewhere around this, whereby this will now be black, right? So that's what this unmarked this thing is for. But in this case, this is your 5-star rating. Then I need to bring all this together. I need to bring them. You can see currently they are kind of spaced out. So I'm going to click on the column, scroll down to gaps, maybe put like a 5. Yeah, I think a 5. Let's look at this again. Probably like an 8. Yeah, and then this guy here, this star rating, I need to use negative margin to bring it closer. So maybe -10 or -8. Let's do it not 18, -8. Okay, I think it's still too spaced out. Need to bring it more closer. Oops, -8. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. Then of course we need to space it out, because looking at this, you see how the star rating is kind of spaced out. So we need to space our own out. Maybe give it like a 12 or 13, and then the spacing, space it out to around 4. Yeah. Okay. Then the next thing, this guy here, our image is kind of at the top, but looking at this, their image feels as if it's a little bit downward. So maybe we can just give it like a 5 pixel at the top, 5 pixel padding at the top, to kind of shift it down a little bit. I think it's kind of too much, maybe 3. Let's give it like 3. All right, then this is how it's looking. Okay, so what do we do next? Remember, we just designed the first slide. This is the first slide that we just designed of this carousel, right? So all I have to do, click on the carousel, delete this is slide 2, slide 3, and then duplicate this my guy here. Duplicate it 3 times or more, depending on how many slides you want to create, right? And what do we have? Let's wait for it to load up. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So all I now have to do is to switch it up, like get the second one, which is like this one here, copy, go back, paste, then make sure copy the name, go here and paste it. Okay, then click on the image and change the image. Okay, switch it to this image. Alright, then the last one. Okay, go back here and get the name. Okay, so then I'm going to switch the image as well. Alright, so okay, so here we go. This is it, but then I don't want to show three of them at the same time. I want to show one at a time, right? So I'm going to scroll up this navigator and click on carousel. So slide on display. It have to be one, so display one at a time. Then of course the settings should be autoplay, and you can go ahead style this the way you want to style it, but the main thing we have to look out for is the navigation. We need to hide it, so hide the arrow, go to pagination as well and hide the dots. So because looking at what they have there is hidden, they didn't have it, so we have to make sure we hide both the arrow and the dots, so just plain as it is. Alright, so then how do I make this heading and this carousel to be side by side? Remember, we go to the main container, switch the direction to this, and you can see everything is kind of jumbled up now. So what I'm going to do is scroll down to wrap, make sure it's wrapped, but now it's kind of switched back to how it is before, but now we have to like fix it. So now we have this setting. We go to this this image box, click on the advanced. Now on the width, we can go to custom and add like I don't know, maybe a 60%. Then the carousel itself, give the carousel like 30. So go to the custom width and give it like a 30. You see, so we are getting somewhere gradually. So this is what we have now. We're getting there gradually. Then you know what, let me add a padding at the top and bottom, so that of this our main container, so that of course I can see clearly what I'm working on. Okay, this is how it is. Now this guy here, this heading, and this guy here are touching each other, like not touching each other, but they are kind of left aligned. I want this one, the heading, to be left aligned, while this other one to be at the extreme end of the right hand side. So what do I do? Still on the container, that is the main container, I'm going to scroll down to justify content, space between. You notice something with the carousel here. Immediately I made this space between, it shifted to the right, and now here we go. So then let's start styling the heading. Let's go to the heading. So this says platform overview. So I'm going to paste it, go back here, copy this, okay, and paste it here. Oh, okay. So now we pasted this. we have to start styling. So I'm going to click this guy here. So what do we have? We have font size of 64, then line height of 70.4 and letter spacing of -1, font weight of 400. Okay, so 64, let me copy the line height, and -1 for letter spacing. So I'm going to go to style, content. So the title, of course, the color of the title have to be black. Then on the typography, we change this to Hind Madura, and 64, font weight 400. Then line height, I already copied it, 70 point something, 0.4, right? Then letter spacing -1 to tighten it. Okay. Let's look at it. Okay, so you see the platform and this guy here and the paragraph is kind of too spaced out, and you can control it using this. So maybe let me just put like 0 there for now. Let's see. Okay, probably put like 5. Yes. Okay, so let's go into this one and let's see what is there. Click this and click. So we have 16 pixel, 20.8 line height, 400 font weight. So let's go back. So that's the description. Same color, same black color. Okay, then on the typography, change it to the Hind Madura. Then give it a 16. Of course, the font weight is already 400, but we can still define it 400. Line height, let me paste it. Then letter spacing. Do they have a letter spacing? I don't think so. Yeah, I think the letter spacing is just normal, as it should be. Okay, then let's look at what we have so far. Okay, this is it. This is it. This is it. Alright, now looking at this, you see this one here is kind of, you can see how many number of tests that are here, whereby in our own case all here is the only thing that is there. So we need, this tells us that maybe this 60% width we gave to the image box maybe is not working, right? Maybe we have to give it like 50 instead of 60. You're like 50. Alright, let's check. Okay, now it's looking similar, right? And the other thing I notice is that it seems as if our own destiny is bigger. Feels as even our heading, our paragraph is kind of bigger than this, and it's because of the font they are using. So their font, maybe 16 pixel of their own font, maybe smaller than 16 pixel of the font we are using, Hind Madurai. So this tells me that instead of using 16, we bring it down a little, maybe use 15 or even 14 and see how it looks. So let's go back to it. So on the description, instead of 16, maybe use 14. Right, now it's too small, very tiny. So probably use like 15 instead. Okay, yeah, 15. Yes, so now it's looking much like it. But then, you know, it seems as if our own font, this Hind something is kind of too tiny than so let's see if we can use a different font. Let's say Poppins. Okay, we use Poppins, but then now Poppins is bigger. You see, Poppins is a bigger font. even the 15 pixel of Poppins is bigger than 15 pixel of of a Hind. So let's see if Source Sans Pro. Source Sans Pro. Let's see if it's going to work. Yeah, think yeah, it works. It gives it the same kind of size and feel, but not exactly. Not exactly. In fact, I think so far, I think the Hind so far is the best. Like the best similar font we have. So let's just stick with it. So the 15, and then we go to the title, and of course reduce it instead of 64, maybe 54 in this case. Looking at it and looking at this, okay, their own is bigger. Now instead of 54, maybe 58. Yeah, maybe 58. And their own is kind of bolder, a little bit bolder, you know, and it has to do with the font. Have to do with font. Let me see if I can get away with 500 font weight. Okay, now our own looks bolder. So it actually has to do with the font they are using. Maybe let's see if I can use Source Sans Pro. Source Sans Pro. How about Enter? Let's say we use Enter. Okay, change it to 400. Alright, so I think Enter is giving us what we want. Like it's making it look very similar. And then maybe reduce this to 54. Yeah, okay, so Enter it is. I don't know if we use Enter as well for the paragraph. You know, let's see if Enter is going to work nicely. Oh, okay, so maybe reduce it to 14. Nope. Enter is not it's not giving us that feel. So let's just change it back. Now what this means is we are going to use Hind for anything paragraph and then use Enter for our titles. Okay, alright, then we have gotten these two guys, we have gotten it. Next thing is this section here. Alright, so let's go back to it. So here is that section, here is it. Make sure you are on the main container that contains the 3 columns. Make sure you are there. Then you go to, of course, now here's the thing, you may decide to add the background color. You may decide to add, in fact, I think if you do it, there are 2 ways you can approach it. Either you add the background color, then you add the black background color to the main container, you know, the container that contains those 3 columns, or you add it individually to each of these columns. I think adding it individually makes sense. So I think I think that's the best way. So I'm going to but before then, I don't know if you let's leave that one for later. So let's just go into the first column. So on the first column here, what do we add there? We add this guy, and there's a crate, and this guy here. Let me copy it. Okay, so what widget do we use for this? Of course, we can use an image widget. So the image plus the title and then the description, followed by a button. So let me drag an image widget. As image box, right? Not image widget, image box. So right here, paste this and then type create here. Okay, so let me click this. I think I've downloaded all these guys before, right? Let me download it again because it's no longer on this my laptop. Okay, so we go back here and we upload. Okay, so we select the first one, add it there. Of course you can't see it because the background is black, is white, so we need to turn it to black. So I'm going to click on the first column, go to style, change the color to black. So when you hover on it, it changes to a different color, right? So let's grab that color. Okay, yeah. So on hover, we change it to this color. So when I hover on it, it changes to this color. Okay, then I'm going to drop in a button below the image box. Make sure I center it. So the button says learn more. That's what the button says here, learn more. Okay, so now let's start styling. First of all, before styling, going to go to the column, go to advanced, give it like a 60, 60 all round, so that at least we have some spacing around it. Okay, now I'm going to click on this, go to style, no, not the image, but rather the content. Go to the content. Okay, so change the color to white. Are you sure they are using pure white? Let's see. Probably they may not be using pure white, so let's see what they are using there. Click this. Okay, this is really not pure white, just it's white but not pure white, see. So let me copy it and use it instead. Okay, use it as well here. Alright, then let's start styling. Like, let's look at the font size of this. So this is a 32 pixel and line height of 38.4. So with a letter spacing of minus 0.25. Okay, minus 0.25. So here we are using enter, remember, for our titles. 32, font weight 400, line height, just copied it, and minus 0.25 for the letter space to tighten it up. Okay, so looking at what they have here and this, I think the 32 is kind of too big, so maybe 28, yeah, around 28. Then let's go to the description. So I'm going to click. So here we have 16, but it's not going to be 16 but rather 15. Then line height 20.8, font weight 400. Okay, so on the description, of course, we are using the Hind Madura, and then 15, font weight 400, line height 20.8, and that's it. Okay, we are going to, of course, we will still come to that to do the final styling, but first let's go into the button so that everything looks uniform. So let's go into the button. Let's see, the button, there's no padding. They remove the padding, and let me look at the sizing. So 16 pixel, which is 15, we're going to use 15, and just similar to the description. Okay, so let's go back. Make sure on your buttons, if you are not using icon, let your icon space be 0. So then go to style. First thing first, remove the padding. Go to the background, make it transparent. Then the color. Oops, let me go here and copy the color. Okay, then come back here. Alright, then of course the topography have to be in Madura. Then 15 pixel. Now I'm going to give this a 500 instead, because if you're looking at this is bolder, like the button is kind of bolder than 400. So 500, and there's a border at the bottom, so this border type solid. Then give it like maybe 2 pixel. Then padding maybe like 10 pixel or 8 pixel at the bottom. Then of course when you look closely at the border I gave it, kind of curvy, so it's because of some form of border radius. So I'm going to put border radius to 0 here. Okay, then the border here is kind of very faint. We may decide to get exactly the same color they have, or just do it intuitively, like we already know this is a, maybe let me grab the white color, right? This is the border color, paste it there, and simply reduce the opacity somewhere around here. Let's look at it. Okay, which is similar to this, right? Okay, then what next? Now if you look closely, you see the create and the description is spaced out. Same thing with the image, spaced out, whereby our own is not spaced out. Our own is a kind of shrink together, so we need to space it out. And why do you space it out? You space it out, to create a balance. Right now it's not balanced, so we have to go back. Let me click on the image box. Okay, so make sure the alignment centered. Go to image. So currently the width is 30, which is fine, leave it. Then the spacing, maybe you like a 30 as well. Then you scroll down to the content. So the spacing here, maybe 20. Yes, let's look at it. Okay, yes. Then the width of this whole thing, we need to like bring it closer. Yeah, so maybe I have to go to this. Then instead of 60 all around, maybe 80 by the left and right hand side, while still maintaining 60 at the top and bottom. Okay, all right, let's look at this again. Okay, I think it have to be 80 all around. Yeah, 80 all around. So put 80 there, and let's see. Okay, maybe we put 100 at the top, 100 at the bottom. Yeah, while 80 by the two sides. Okay, so looking at this, the width, the width of the description is still not the same as this guy. So this tells me I need to increase it more, increase the padding. So probably let me use 100 pixel all round. Let's see. Okay, so now it's looking similar. All right, so of course now we got this. All I have to do is duplicate this section, duplicate, and then delete the other sections here, delete. All right, yeah, so now we have this section, but then there's this there's this gap, and this gap is coming from the container that contains those three columns. So I'm going to click it, go to the layout, scroll down to the gaps, set it to 0. But now when I do that, everything, apart from, except I hover on it, everything looks like the same. So why is it? And also you can see the gaps as well. I think instead of using that 100 all around, I think I should have used I kept it at 180 by the two sides. So let me change it to 80 here, 80 here. All I have to do, copy, then go to the second column, paste style, third column, paste style. All right, still not looking same. Maybe instead of 80, use 60 instead. 60, 60. Okay, then copy it, go to this one, paste style, go to this one, paste style. Okay, now let me look at it again. Yeah, okay. Then the next thing is there's a demarcation between it. You can see there's a faint line that made it, that let you know that this is 3 columns, right? So there's a faint line, and that faint line I'm going to add it in the middle column. So on the middle column, I'm going to go to style, scroll to, of course, give it a border, solid border, 1 pixel by the left and right. Then of course we can use any of our white color here. So let me copy this white color, then go back again, scroll down to border. Okay, so on the border color I'm going to paste the white, but this time I'm going to reduce it probably somewhere around here. Okay, so this is how it's looking, which is looking perfectly like this. Okay. Then there's something else I want to know. Let me make sure this guy is actually pure black. Just want to make sure it's pure black. Yeah, you see, it's not really pure black. You see, oh, because I was looking at my own black. My own black is darker. It's too dark than their own. So I was like, no. So you see, they're using a different shade of black. So I'm going to paste it here, and then there is a lighter shade of black. That's it. So paste it here as well. All right. So I think in this case, my border, my two-side border, I think I have to also reduce the transparency as well, because now it's kind of too obvious. I need it to be more faint. So I'm going to reduce it just a little bit, maybe somewhere around here. Okay, let's check it again. Yeah, okay, so now it's perfect. Now The next thing is we need this to be curvy. We need to give it a rounded corner. So the way you can do it, which I've done this before, right? I've done this before. So the way I do this is uh, the first time I did this, I just added uh, I added border radius to the outside container, which works. So let's do it so you see. So I'm going to, on the outside radius, maybe add like 10. Then if you check it, nothing happens. So I have to go to layout, scroll down to additional options. Then on the overflow, I'm going to set it to hidden. Now it's working, right? So but then later on, along the line, I noticed something. There's an effect. In fact, let's do it this way so that you follow along with me and see why I later change it from this way to the other way. So let's just flow with it this way. So now we have this looking similar to this. I think our image have to be a little bit bigger, right? Because their own image is bigger. Image have to be bigger. Yeah, so how about the border radius have to be 20 as well, not really 10. So go back, border radius 20. Yeah, and then our image, click this, instead of 30, maybe give it a 35. All I have to do, copy this, paste style here, and paste style. Alright, so I went ahead and added the icons, different icons and different content for the other stuffs we have here, and it's looking quite good. Then let's look at this. The spacing between here and this black section here, you can see there's a bit of spacing, right? A bit of gap, probably around 60 pixels. So let's go back and add that spacing. So how do we add the spacing? We add it from the main container, the container that contains everything. Go back to it, scroll down to the gaps. So here on the gaps, you can use like 60. Let's see. Okay, so that's it. Now it's looking good. Okay, so this guy here, these guys and these guys are centered. Looking at it, you see they are centered in the middle, whereby looking at our own, it's centered at the top. So that tells me that I have to center everything. So here on the align, so I have to center it. On the align items, it have to be centered. So let's check. It's still not centered. So why is it so? Why is it not centered yet? Okay. Maybe has to do with the carousel. Does it? Okay, so let's go back to the carousel again. Make sure this equal height is not there. Okay, let's go to advanced. Make sure there's no padding. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. There is this spacing here that shouldn't be there. So I'm trying to figure out why it's there. So let's go back to the main container. Scroll down. Maybe because we change the direction to this way and then give it a wrap here, sometimes this kind of gaps usually come out. So let's go to align content here and set it to center. Nothing changes. flex start, flex end, nothing changes here, so let me take it back. All right, this guy here, I don't know why this guy here is let's go to this and let's see patterns and margins. Okay, align center. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. I still think it has to do with the main container itself, so we go back there. If we put it to middle, even if we put it to middle, it's still giving us this which we don't want. Did we added any kind of height, any form of height to it? Did we? No, we didn't. I even removed the equal height. In fact, you know what, let me refresh this. Let me save it and refresh. Let's see. Okay, I just refreshed it and it's still there, still that same listing. Trying to figure out what might be the problem, because coming to here is actually good. Then immediately I take it to 30, it becomes this way. And if I put it down, still not giving the same thing. Line safe. Let me go to settings again. So on the settings, navigator. Okay, let me kind of bring back the navigator and the pagination as well. Let me bring back both the navigator and pagination. Okay, so this pagination here, let me go to pagination. The spacing, let me put it to 0. Putting it to 0 is still not giving us much. Still not giving us much there. Well, put it to none. Hide it. Can't seem to understand why this is happening. I seem to understand why this is happening. But then maybe I'll still come back to it later on right now let's just you know, you see these are the slides and they're actually okay, yeah, this is why it's happening. One of the slide here, which is slide 1, you can see it has this big gap because of the content. You see, that's it because of this. And this tells me that the 30 pixel we gave it is kind of small, because if we go back here, let's try and get that same. Okay, so here it is, 1 2 3, it goes in 3 rows, 1 2 3, whereby our own is in 1 2 3 4 rows. So it tells me that the size we gave to the carousel, gave it a 30 pixel, is not enough. So maybe let's put it to 35. Let's look and see. Okay, yeah, exactly. So the 35 now makes sense. Then another thing, there's a big gap in between the image and the text content. There's a gap there, so I think probably like a 40 or 30 pixel gap. So I'm going to go to each of the slides. So this first slide here, go to the gaps, make it 40. Let's see how it looks. Okay, yeah, similar to that. So 40, then go to the other slide, make sure I add 40 as well. No, not 20, 40. Yeah. Go to the other slide, make sure I add 40. Okay, so let's look. Yeah, so this is it. Then this is it. Okay, 1 2 3, and here we have 1 2 3. Or even with this, our own feels as if it's at the top, whereby their own is at the bottom. And that's how our own feels. So why is it so? Let's see. Really want to figure this out. Okay, almost the same height, but then it's still at the top. Okay, let me go to the main about this. Let me go to the main container. So on the main container, scroll down and okay, the align middle, yeah, align middle, and that's it. 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Oh, okay, there's something else I'm seeing, something else I'm noticing that made it to feel as if our own, like, you remember we are using 15 pixel instead of 16. I think this is our testimony. I think I use 16, which is bigger than what they have. You see, yeah. So 15. Go to the second slide. Where's the second slide? Make it 16 as well, 15 as well. Then go to the first slide. Make it 15 as well. Alright, let's look again. Yeah, exactly. So now is in the middle, and probably our image, think their own image is a little bit smaller than our own, right? So maybe our own image, instead of the 20, instead of 20, we can give it like an 18. Let's look. Yeah, exactly. Maybe like an 18, whereby this thing is like um 82, right? 82. Okay, do the same thing to the other slide. 18, and the other one 82. Then the first slide 18 as well. You know, these things are not really necessary, but then because we are trying to replicate this, we have to make it pixel perfect. You see, we have to make it pixel perfect. You know, let it look exactly. You know, okay, yeah, all right. Then the next thing is this guy here. We have to style our button. So let's go back to the to the button here. So now looking at this button here, we want to center it, but it's not centering. If we go to the entire column, that is the container that contains everything, we go to it. Let's scroll down so you'll see what I'm doing. So if we come here and we make it justify content center, of course it's going to center it. But then when we scroll up, you see what happened. So these guys here at the top are now, you know, like centered closer to each other. But that's not what we want. You see, we made it space in between for a reason, so that the title will be in the left hand side and the carousel will be in the right hand side. But if you scroll down here, this is how the button is. So how do we work around this? We work around this by clicking on this button, because if you look, the button is kind of shrink to its size, to its content width. So but we need to click it, expand it. So we go to advanced, width, make it full width. So now you can see the pink, and see the pink line. So it means this button is extended to full width. Now we can simply use the normal alignment. So normal alignment on the button. So alignment center, and here we go. So then let's style it up. So let's look at what they have here. So 16 pixel, which translate to 15 pixel, right? Then 24 pixel padding. We may add it. We may add it or not. You know. Then font weight of 400. Why I said we may add this 24 pixel all round is that sometimes, you know, we have discovered so far that sometimes when we add the exact padding to a button, it tends to look different, maybe bigger or smaller, right? So we just have to keep 24 pixel in mind, but still do our own thing, give it our own number that will look similar to it. So but what we have to take note of is 16 pixel. So this 16 pixel here, let's go back, which translate to 15. So on the topography, first thing first, the padding, you know, give it like let's give it like 20 for now. Then by the side, like 40 or 30, probably 30, just for now. Then the color, now we have to get our color. So this is not the color I want. I want it to select the other color, but it's not selecting it. Selecting the black. No, let me copy the black first of all. Go to on hover. So of course, when you hover on it, that's when this black pops in, right? So let me just scroll up to this section here and copy the other color out. Then click on the button and paste it. So the white color, of course, I'm going to click this and copy the white color from here. Let's not waste time trying to copy it somewhere else. Click this and paste it. Okay, so now we go into the topography. So on the topography, we're using hint, and then 15 pixel font weight 500. Okay, then line height, we leave it as it is. Okay, change what it says. I think it says see all features, so change it here, see all features. Alright, so let's go back to styling again. Border radius have to be 100. Padding, maybe something like 14, and maybe 24. Let's go back to content, make sure the icon spacing is set to 0. Now let's check if it looks similar to this. Okay, yeah, though the weight, font weight have to be bolder, so probably 600. Yeah, and when you hover on it, yeah, yep, maybe the line height, need to change the line height to set it to 1. Leave it there. Okay, so we have gotten the button, gotten these guys, and this. So now it's time for, like, checking the animation. I don't know if you look here, I don't know if you notice there's some animation when you hover on this, this thing, when you hover on it, the icon kind of expands. You see, the icon expands. When you don't really need to touch the icon, just when you hover inside here, you see the icon expands. And another thing, when you scroll, you see somewhere around here, when you scroll, you see it expands. When you scroll, it expands. So this scrolling of a thing really gave me a hard time. How I wish you saw the first recording I did. you would have as you laugh your head off. At some point I was like I shouted, I was like, Shinekeme. So there's some things you just try to do and you thought is simple, but then it's not that simple. Of course it's simple, but for you to figure it out, it's very hard for you to figure it out. But when you now figure it out, you'll be like, wow, this is so simple. That's what just happened. I was going in circles, round and round, trying to see how to achieve this. In the first video I did, yeah, you would have, So, but let's see, this time around it will be straightforward because I've done it before, so it will be more straightforward. So, now, how do we achieve this? I already have a code for this icon. When you hover on it, for the icon to expand, I have a code that I prepared. Just a simple CSS. I'm also going to explain what the CSS is. So, well, first of all, let's do this guy here. Let's do this guy. Okay, so going back. Yeah, so let's see how we are going to add the animation. So if we click here, go to advanced, we scroll down. Where do I click? I clicked on the container that contains these 3 columns. So I'm clicking it, go to advanced, scroll down to motion effect. Remember, this is a scrolling effect. It happens when you scroll, so it's a scrolling effect. So going back here, you can see scrolling effect, we activate it. Now, what type of scrolling effect do we want? See, there are different scrolling effect, but in this case we want a scale because it expands. Look, let's go back again. You see the current width. Now this current width at the bottom tells us something. It tells us that, see, this width is not really like this. Like, it's not equal to the width of this and this. It's not equal to it. The original width is here. You can see the original width where it stops. It starts from here, stops here. That's the original width. And then as you scroll, it expands till this stage. I think somewhere around here it stops expanding. Yeah, somewhere around here. Almost like 40% of the screen, it stops expanding, and then it becomes the same as you scroll the rest of the screen. So the animation starts somewhere around here to expand, and then stops. You see? So let's go back here. We turn on the scale, and this have to be scale up. Then let's bring this down. I've done this before, so bring it down to 40, and then take this to maybe around 25 or 20. I think 25. Then let me check the speed, because currently the speed is set to 4. I think maybe I have to set it to 1, but let's see the speed of this. So what happens here? Oops. Okay. Click it. I think the speed is too much, so maybe set it to 1. Yeah. Alright. Okay, we can't see it, so let me shrink it so we see what we're working on. Okay, it's still not shrinking. I have to add, let me add I have to add a gap, a section at the top. So add a section so that we can scroll up and down fully and see what we're working on really. So add this section, copy it, scroll down and paste it below. I think it's pasted below it. Let's make sure it's pasted below. Ooh, it's pasted it inside, and that's not what we want. So let me scroll down again somewhere here. Ooh, okay, we already have this section here, so we don't need it. So now let's check again and see. Okay, let me shrink it so you see what is happening. You see? Look closely. It expands. Alright? So this tells us it's working, but it's expanding. Let me take it back to 100%. It's expanding so big, you see, expanding so big, and the reason it's doing so is because the width, remember I told you, let's go back here again. The original width of that section, that black section, is this. Here's where it starts, and this is where it stops. So that's the original width, and then as you scroll it expands. So this tells me that we need to add a kind of we need to shrink it down and then use the animation, the scale animation, to kind of expand it on scroll. So let's go back, click on make sure we are on the column container, right? No, not this. Where is it? Make sure we are here. Now you may say, oh, okay, let's add, since this is animation now, let's add no, this is width we are talking of. We need to shrink the width, so let's make it full width, and then let's add like 80%. Of course it works, so it kind of bring it down, but look what it did. It shifted it by the side. but remember this is centered, you see. So I've tested it out doing it this way, and I see that it's not working. This is not the best way. So let me take this back to box with, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use padding, not margin, because if you use margin, here we go again. Let me use margin. Maybe put like 40 here, put like, maybe just put 80 here, 80 here, and let's see what happens. Okay, this uh, really works. Yeah, I think the margin also the margin really works. Yeah, and I think the margin will even be better. Yeah, you see, I didn't thought of this before, because here's the thing, the margin will be better. Wow. Okay. No, you never can tell when you test things out. So you see, here's the margin. I added a margin of 30. So it means the original size is here. I don't know if you can see it. My original size is here after adding the margin of 30 by the left hand and the right hand side. So my original width is now from here. You see where it stops from here. And then as I scroll, it expands till it reaches here, and then it stops. You see? Now, I use padding in the other one. So now see the problem that padding will create when you use padding. So let me add padding of 30. Now let's go back, and you see our our curve, our rounded corner is no longer there. You see, our rounded corner is no longer there. So now what I now did in the first one was to go to the individual this thing column, like this column here, the first column. Go to the style, scroll down to border, and then on the border radius I added 20 at the top. I think 20 is what we're using. Yeah, 20 at the top, and then 20 at the left. You see, for me to achieve this, you see the curve is back and the curve is back. I did it here and I did it in the last column here. You see, because I'm using padding, but it works, you know, but it's like an extra step of going to the individual column to add those border radius, whereby I could have used margin, you know, whereby I could have just simply gone back to the main container, you know, instead of using padding, I use margin, give it a 30 here, 30 here, and my this thing will still be there for me, you know, my curves, they will still be there for me, and you know, everything is working as it should. So you see, this is how we're able to do it, and now this guys is working. Then the next thing I have to do, maybe I have to think of you can see this guy, see feature is here, instantly is here, and it's not good for design. Important thing you have to take note of in designing, whenever you design something and you have a bunch of text, a paragraph, and then at the end of it you see a single word kind of sticks out on its own, like you can see here, features. You can see this one instantly, a single word kind of sticks out. It's not good. It's really bad design. This is a perfect example here. You see how everything is kind of, you know, look at this paragraph here. You see how it's kind of structured. But look at this. This looks like an eyesore, looks like an oversight. This features here and this instantly. So you have to always take note of that and then fix it. So what this tells me that I have to go to the you know, the container, go to the first container, or the first column, rather the first column. Go to the first column, then go to advanced, give this like make it like 50. Okay, probably reduce this to 80 instead. Then go back here, give it 50 and 80. Do the same for the third one. 50, 50 and 80, 80. All right, let's look. Ooh, okay, now you see how it's now looking. Everything is structured well and it's looking nice. So you see, as you scroll up, start expanding, and it stops expanding, and then you see the section here. Let's look at this. Okay, and that's it. So and we have it now. The final thing before we close is when you hover on this, when you hover on it, this thing expands. So let's get to the code. Just a very simple CSS that we have to add. All right, let me just copy it from the other one that I did the other time. So let me just go here, go to the first container, and then let me grab it, copy, scroll up to the one we are working on currently. So on the first column, in the first column, that's where I'm going to add it. In the first column, right? In the first column, scroll down to custom CSS, and then let me paste this. Paste it here. Okay, so let's explain what this code is actually about. So let's look at this. Nothing is happening currently. You see, this thing is not expanding because there are some housekeeping we need to do. So let's actually look at this code. Here I said selector. Remember what I said before. If you are part of our bootcamp, the web design bootcamp we did recently, the selector in Elementor means to select this particular column. Remember, this is the container, the container column that we just added it here. So what we're saying is this selector or this column on hover. So like selector, then colon, you add a colon, and then you write hover. So what this means is on hover of this, that is when you hover your mouse on this container, then dot hover iconic. Now this hover iconic is because we want to target this image, and this image is inside. This image is inside of this column. So we already selected the column and said when you hover on this column, now target this particular thing. I simply wrote hover iconic. You can name it anything. This is just a class that we need to give to this image box here. So let me copy it now. Let me copy it. I'm going to copy. Of course, there's the other thing here, img. I'm still coming to that, but let me copy this hover iconic, then go to advanced. I just clicked on the image box, go to the advanced, scroll down to CSS classes, and then paste it there. Now you see something is now happening. Let's go back to the code again so that I finish explaining it. So here, this selector means we targeted this container. We said when you hover on this container, I want you to get me any element, whatever it is that has this thing. And then when you get that element or that widget that has this class, when you get it, what we are looking for is an image. We are not looking for a text, which is a P. We are not looking for a link, a button link, which is an anchor, A. We are not looking for any other thing. What we are looking for is img, and img in HTML, that this stands for image. So when you hover on this selector, that is when you hover on this column, find an element that has hover iconic, and then this element that has hover iconic, make sure is an image, like find the image here, because take for example, this is an image box, and this image box has a title. and has a paragraph. But these are not what we want. What we want instead is the image. Now, if I remove this img from it, look at what happens. Everything expands, both the heading and the description, the paragraph. Everything expands. You see, that's why we have to add that img, to say, oh, what we actually want is just the img, and then scale it. So transform scale 1.2, scale it 1.2, like 1.2 times. If I wrote scale it 2, this is 2 times the current size of it, and this is it. This is too much, right? So that's why I made it 1.2. Scale it 1.2 times the current size, and this is it. You see? So now on the second part says selector. There's no on hover again now. You see, dot hover iconic image, but there's no on hover because this one we want it not when you hover on it, because this first one is when you hover on it. Now this is when you are not hovering on it. Transform it to scale 1. That is why when I hover on it and then once I remove my mouse from it, this code here is transforming it back, scaling it down back to 1, which is the original size, and then using a transition, the smoothness. You see how the smoothness is. Now if I make this to be 0 seconds, let's just say 0 seconds. Okay, I think this thing is not applying. Maybe let's put important here. Something else is overriding it. Something else is overriding our transition. I will still show you where it is. So but I have to give it a command that is a must. I want you to do this one instead of whatever else that is overriding it. I want you. That's why I added this exclamation mark important. Now let's see. Do you notice a difference? You see, there's no smooth scaling up and smooth scaling down. You just boom. See, boom, 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 boom. Like because we added 0 seconds. So if we put it to 1 second. And look, if I put it to 5 seconds, now look. Now this is very slow. Now this is very slow. You see, put it to 2 seconds. You see, all right. So now there's something that is overriding this, and let me show you where it is. So let's click on this image, box. Go to style. Click on the image. Now if we scroll down, you see transition duration on this image. There's already a transition duration which is 0.3 seconds, and this is what is overriding that one we added in the column. So all we have to do, simply remove it. Do the same thing here on this one. Remove it so that it doesn't have it, so that when we now add that our own, we don't need to add important into it. We don't need to force it. Rather, it will just simply apply. All right, so let's go back to the first container, first column again. Go to the custom CSS. Now from here, you see this thing is applying, but it's applying at 2 seconds, which is kind of too much. Then another thing we need to take note of is also the changing of our background. Changing of this background is kind of instant. Immediately I hover, it changes. Hover, it changes. Hover, changes. Website animation is a very big branch of web design altogether. We have the UI, we have the UI designer, UX designer, front end designer, back end developer, front end developer, full stack developer, someone that knows all of them. Then when it comes to designing, we have the UI designer, you have the UX designer, then we have even the UI UX designer, and then we have even the think they call it animation designer, right? Web animation designer. Like what this person does is animating whatever it is that is designed. So after the UI UX designer have done his thing, he's going to come in and do all the animation that need to be done, going from 3D animation, 2D animation, whatever animations, you know. And like there are in-depth, like more complicated, more advanced type of animations. This thing we're just doing here just like a normal simple animation, right? So now it's like this animation of a thing is like it's like video editing. Yes, it's like video editing, but specifically for web designs and applications, right? So you have to, now this is where we start talking about seconds, fade in, fade out, skew, all those things, and you start making use of timing. You see, we you see how I'm using 1 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, all these things. It feels similar to the kind of language you hear video editors speaking whenever they are discussing or doing stuff on the app, right? So that just it is a big branch, and it will be really nice if you learn this, at least this simple one that we just did here. You will learn it and then apply it in other designs. So moving on, what I'm explaining before, if you look at this, when you hover on it, the change happens instant. But look at the original. Look carefully. When you hover on it, you see it takes a little bit time, making it more smooth. Takes a little bit time. It feels as if there's this fading in and fading out. You see, fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. But our own looks instant. Boom, boom, boom. So, and these things kind of gives a certain feeling. It makes the design feels a certain way. Like animation, using animation, you can make a design to feel a certain way. In fact, you can get a design like this design we just did here simply by changing only how the animations, how the interactions, like changing the interaction and the animation that is there. It can give you an entirely different feeling. It's still the same design, or the same design, the same colors, the same layout, everything, but simply by changing the animation that is there, it gives you an entirely different feeling. So that's why animations are very important, and how you do them. Now, how do we achieve this guy? Let's click on the first column again. Okay, we are on the first column. Now to let's go to our style here. So on this style, remember our normal background is set to this black, and then on hover is set to this. So if you scroll down on the hover side of it, you see the transition duration is 0.3. What if we make it to 1 second? Now look, when I hover on it, you see, unlike this one, boom, boom, but now this fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. Now it looks more flowy, feels more flowy, more fluid like, unlike this guy. You see? And that's it. So now we have 1 pixel here, 1 second, not pixel, 1 second here. So let me go back to this, apply the same thing there. On hover, 1 second, then go back to the third one, on hover, 1 second. So all of them have that same. Now let's go back to the first column again, go to where we pasted our code, because we need to do final thing to the code. So let's go back. Now on this code, we have it to transform. Let all this transformation, this scaling up of the icon, let it happen in 2 seconds, whereby our background changes in 1 second. So look, but what happened? Why is this not scaling? Why? It's because the code we have here doesn't apply to these ones, but we can still make it apply to the other three. First of all, let's fix this. Our background changes completely in 1 second, but this icon scales completely in 2 seconds, which is a longer time. So maybe we use 1.5 seconds, so like half of, let it scale 5 minutes more than the background. So let's see. Okay, now this is more realistic, just similar to what we have here. Yes. Okay, I think even the 1.2 that I use, I think is even too much. Maybe instead of, maybe use 1.1, right? Let's see, 1.1. Yeah, 1.1. Yes, we use 1.1 on it. Okay, then how do we now apply this guy here? How do we apply it by making a few changes. Remember, we're using selector here, we're using selector here. So these selectors we are using here, what it says is on this particular column. So we are not taking note of the other columns here. So if we want this code to apply to other columns here, then we need to, instead of using selector, we need to add a class. So maybe add a class of, you can name it anything you want, but let it be a class you will use to identify these three columns. So let's say we can name this three column. you know. Now, when you add in classes, classes comes with a dot at the front. So that's what makes it a class. You can see this hover iconic. If I just write it without the dot, now it doesn't. It is no longer a class. So classes comes with a dot. So now you see, I just gave this three column, right? Let me replace this selector again with the dot three column. All right. So now you see, these are no longer, nothing is happening again. The code is no longer working. Yes, because there's no container that has a class of three column yet. It just, this three column just exists here in our code. So similar to how we gave this hover iconic to this image box, we have to copy this three column, copy it, and give it to each of this column. So go to the first column on the layout, that is on the advanced, then layout. That's where you see CSS classes. You paste it without the dot. Now when you pasting it here, paste it without the dot, but when you write it in the code, you write it with the dot in front. Then go back here, go to the second distance, second column, add it. Now look, you see our animation is now back, but here nothing is happening. Why? I'm still going to tell you why it's not happening. But let's go back to the third column and make sure we add our class. So now all this three column has this class named three column. Yes. Now these two, nothing is still happening there because the hover iconic, it can't find inside this column here. The code cannot find any widget or anything that has hover iconic there, and that's why the code is not working. So we need to go back to our first column. Let me select it from here, then go to our code, copy out the hover iconic without the dot, then go to each of these image box, go to the advanced, and on the class paste it, and you can see this one is now working. You see, then go to the other one, advanced, scroll down, paste it, and now let's look at it. This one is also working. You see, we expand it, hover, it expands, hover, it expands, and that's how you do it. Then you can see the animation when you scroll up expand, scroll down, see, scroll up, expand, scroll down, scroll up, and that's it. That's the end of our this thing. um the next video that is coming is for yesterday's challenge. I'm going to record it, and please make sure you post not just on the group. Make sure you post on the group so that I will see it, and then give you some corrections if there's any corrections, or even share it to my stories and to other people. Then also make sure you share it to your own timeline. It's very, very important. Then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes, I've been saying there are videos coming. There are videos is still on the works, but there are videos still coming on that YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe so that when we start publishing more videos there, you will receive notifications, and then watch those videos and learn from it. Thank you, and see you on the next one. Bye.